Ad break starts in about 30 seconds or so. And then after that ad break is done, we'll go ahead and get started. See you in a minute. Hey everybody, how's it going? How's it going is what I said. That was like a jam, man. I didn't want to stop. It's good music there. Stream Beats by Harris Heller, if you want to check that out. Gentleman that also streams on Twitch and YouTube, and he's a musician, and he created all these songs that are free to use on your stream. That's specifically why he made them with his company, so check him out. Anyways, let me apologize right up front, because I don't know if you can tell, I am suffering right now. I'm super stuffed up, really bad allergies. I was away for a week on a audiobook narrator cruise where we did workshops and learned about, the craft of narrating audiobooks, refining our techniques and things like that. And it was really cool. It was a really cool experience. Met a lot of really cool narrators, met some fantastic coaches, got to do some small session reads with a couple of producers, which was really cool to kind of figure out what are they looking for? What do they want when you're reading, when you're narrating? So when they're, they send out their auditions and their casting calls, what do they want? It was just invaluable feedback. Nerve-wracking to begin with, because I'd never done one of those before. But by the fourth one, it's old news, right? But fantastic. Anyways, tonight I'm going to be reading a story, and I am so sorry I am all stuffed up and can't do the story the justice it deserves in terms of narration, but it is fantastic. It is a fantastic story. If you can see the text down below, Abigail's Curse by June Calva, and it is, for a first chapter, boy, do we get to learn all about the main character, which is great. It's really good writing. Mild trigger warning here, if it does talk about a figure, and it doesn't get graphic or intense, but it does bring up the subject of a person that has positional authority over someone, kind of abusing that control. We don't get into the details, but it's referenced, so if that is something that you don't even want to hear referenced, now you know. Shay, how's it going? I saw the photos everyone was posting on Facebook. It sounds like it was awesome. It was fantastic. The schedule was pretty good though. So we had workshops pretty much, in the core part of your day, with an exception for one of the days. We could go do excursions and stuff like that because you're on a cruise, right? But then in the evening or in the morning, whichever you chose, if you're a morning person or you're an evening person, you got to do the small session coaching sessions with either a coach or a producer from one of the companies that was there. I got to sit with Rin from Spotify, and they have recently acquired Findaway Voices, so it's like Findaway Voices Spotify. They kind of bought them out. And then I got to sit with Eric from Dreamscape. It was really cool. And then the coaches, I got to sit with Joel Frumkin, who is amazing at everything he does, because obviously. And then Carol Munda, who she is a master of horror, thriller, suspense. And I think I want to go a little bit in that direction, I think. So it was really good feedback to get. But it was awesome. I'm glad I went. Didn't get enough time to meet with everybody. Feels like I barely got to. But it was cool. It was fun. And we had themed nights every night for just the audiobook group. So during dinner, one of them was dress up as your favorite literary character. And Joel's costumes and things that he dressed up as, worth the price of admission. Right there. It was fantastic. It was really fun. Learned a lot. So, what are we drinking? I'm probably not going to have much because I don't feel great, but we'll have a little. put this over here on the pour cam. We're going to do the same thing we did last time. This stuff actually tastes super good. It's called Bourbon Cream by Buffalo Trace. And it's like Bailey's and chocolate and that nice finish of whiskey at the end. So it has like a nice little like zip at the end, whereas it's not as smooth as Bailey's, put it that way, but it's dangerously yummy. So not a little bit, but I'm not gonna go overboard with it. You'll see when I pour it here. It's got that nice Bailey's color. Would go fantastic in coffee. Just saying. I might know. But cheers, everyone. Hopefully you are all enjoying your Wednesday night. Sit back, relax with me. We're going to read a really good story. And I'm definitely going to finish the rest of this bourbon cream. It is so tasty. It was actually, I was telling this story last time, but I went into a place out here called Bevmo to get, stuff for upcoming episodes of Whiskey Wednesday. And one of the workers there recommended this bourbon cream. She said it was fantastic. Like, she tried it once, somebody else suggested it to her, and she continually buys it. Keeps it stocked, because apparently it disappears quick, and now I know why. Okay, let's talk about the story, shall we? Let's get into a little bit about the author and the story. And on Instagram Live, I'm just going to read to you a little bit about the author and a little bit about the book, because I haven't figured out how to automatically post that like I'm doing in Twitch and YouTube right now if you're joining me there. But let's see here. Let me pull up what they wrote. So June Calva says, I'm June Calva, the storyteller behind Between the Covers, and I'm delighted to welcome you into my world of romance, mystery, and the supernatural. Writing is my passion, and I strive to create stories that enchant, seduce, and linger in your soul long after the final page. As a fellow book lover, I know the magic of discovering characters who feel like old friends and worlds that feel like home. A little bit about the book. We probably won't get to this section, but you're going to see where this is going, so it sets it up nicely here in the first chapter. Lament Academy is a place for the forgotten, the troubled, the unwanted. Abby never wanted to be here, but she wasn't given a choice. The halls are cold, and whispers never stop, and something about this place feels wrong. So our main character, as we start our first chapter, isn't there yet at Lament Academy, but we're probably going to figure out why they end up there. So I think it's a really good start here. And I got a chance to kind of read through it once really quickly, and I think you'll enjoy it. So, Tim, how's it going? Thanks for joining me on Instagram there. I'm trying out the Instagram thing. Streaming to Twitch and YouTube and Instagram is interesting. It's a lot to keep track of. But thanks for joining, my friend. Once again, before we hop into the booth, which we'll do here in just a second and read our first chapter, apologies, I am super stuffed up, so if you don't want to listen to that, I don't blame you. I'm going to be real nasally today, but I'm going to do my best and try to give this story as much as I can, because it's real good. I think you'll enjoy it. Let's step into the booth, shall we? I'll see you there in just a second. Let me turn off this music first, actually. Boop. There we go. Now we'll step into the booth. I'll meet you over there. Okay. Whew. Long walk to the booth, you know? All right. I gotta find my mouse so I can put this away and I can see all chatting. I bet gotta go do pickups, but wanted to show some support, bro. Oh, thanks, Tim. I appreciate it. Go do those pickups. I just finished some pickups last night or night before. Glad I did, because I would not be able to do them right now. Dodged that a little bit, but now I got to delay the start of my next book, which sucks. I want to jump into it. You know how it goes. But thanks, Tim. I appreciate it, man. Check out Tim Ratliff as well. A ton of their books on Audible. I think you're doing something about like a potato detective or something. I saw your announcement about it and I wanted to check it out more. I haven't had a chance yet, but it looks really fun. So, and I did hear a little bit of the narration, actually. It was on one of your Instagram posts, and it does sound fun. I remember now. I gotta check out more of it, though. Hopefully that one comes out soon. All right. So, let's jump into it here. One quick note on the stream here, especially if you're on Instagram, this might look kind of weird. But on Twitch, there's like an ad break thing that happens every, it's like hour, half hour, something like that. I think it's every half hour. And it basically shows ads to people on Twitch. So what I will do is I will pause my narration really quick until that ad break is done. As soon as that ad break's over, we'll resume where we left off. Just so that, if you're watching on Twitch, you don't miss anything. You'll hear the Old Spice jingle, and that'll be the cue that an ad's about to start. So if you hear that on Instagram, that's what that is. So now you know. Also, if I mess up on my narration, which I will definitely do, especially today, a couple of my mods like to play a drinking game where you can put an exclamation point flub in Twitch or YouTube. Doesn't work on Instagram yet. I'll see if I can get that to work, though. And you can kind of keep me accountable for all those flubs that I make. I will say, if you're doing the drink when I make a flub thing, drink responsibly, because sometimes it's a lot. So anyways, let's jump into our story here, shall we? So again, this one's called Abigail's Curse by June Calva. And at the end, I will put the link up there again. If you like it and you want to check out the rest, you can purchase it on Amazon or on that website link that's down below in the description there as well. And I'll paste that, I'll paste that into Instagram as well so you have it. But I will try my best to remember. So, let's reset the flub counter. Back to 0. Boop. Let's give ourselves 1 to start with. There we go. And we'll go ahead and start. And I just reset all the volumes for everything, so if I'm a little too quiet, let me know and I'll turn it up. Okay. Here we go. Abigail's Curse by June Calva. Chapter 1. The Great Escape. The sunrise was barely more than a whisper against the horizon, soft streaks of pink and lavender brushing across the sky like hesitant promises. Pretty, sure, but deceiving, just like everything else in this town. Cold air coiled around me, seeping into my bones, clinging to my skin like an omen, like a warning that winter wasn't ready to loosen its grip. My breath curled in ghostly tendrils, vanishing as fast as my patience for Jefferson High. Today was the day I broke free from those suffocating walls, from the stale hallways that reeked of industrial cleaner and teenage desperation, from lockers that felt more like steel cages. Let me be clear. This wasn't some dramatic teenage meltdown. God, I wish it was that simple. Jefferson High was a joke, a poorly written tragedy dressed up as an institution of learning. The cracked linoleum floors, the flickering fluorescent lights, God, even the morning announcements felt like some twisted form of psychological warfare. And don't even get me started on the people. The clicks, the fake smiles, the feeling of being watched but never seen. Every day I walked those halls, invisible, drifting between classes, careful not to touch, to take up too much space, to make myself too real. But here's the thing about being the quiet girl, the one who sits in the back of the class and tries to fade into the wall. You see everything. You notice how Sarah Matthews flinches when her boyfriend grabs her arm too hard, or how Miss Peterson's hands shake when she's erasing the board. My fingers curled around the straps of my backpack, the weight of it pressing into my shoulders, grounding me. My copy of Carrie was in there, the cover soft and dog-eared from too many rereads, a fitting companion for my own little act of rebellion. No, I wasn't expecting blood to rain from the sky or telekinetic vengeance to take out my tormentors, but the symbolism wasn't lost on me. A girl pushed too far, choosing to take back her power no matter the cost? Yeah, I could relate. The air was thick with silence, the kind that only exists in the early hours before the world fully wakes up. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked, its lonely sound swallowed by the mist rolling over the pavement. I took the first step, then another. The cold nipped at my exposed skin, but didn't slow me down. My pulse pounded a staccato rhythm against my ribs, my adrenaline whispering, "Run, run, run." But I wasn't running. I was choosing. I was done pretending, done forcing a smile through clenched teeth, done dodging whispers and sidelong glances, done enduring the weight of expectations that were never meant for me. And most of all, I was done shrinking beneath the lecherous gaze of Coach Danvers. A shudder rolled through me, but this time it wasn't just the cold. His eyes, dark, hungry, had always lingered too long, skimming over my body like a brand, leaving invisible scars in their wake. The way his fingers would brush against my wrist, against the small of my back, just a second too long, just enough to let me know he could. Nobody said anything. Nobody ever does. That's the thing about small towns. Secrets aren't really secrets. They're just truths everyone agrees to ignore. Not today, though. Today, I was done being invisible. I rounded the corner onto Maple Street, my feet carrying me not away from Jefferson High, but toward it. The school loomed ahead, its brick facade smeared orange by the rising sun. The parking lot was nearly empty, just 3 cars. Principal Warren's ancient Buick, Mr. Gonzalez, the janitor's pickup, and the sleek black Mustang I recognized instantly. Coach Danvers' car. My step faltered. I hadn't expected him to be here this early. The recorder in my backpack suddenly felt heavier, like a bomb ticking down. I hadn't told anyone about my plan, not even my diary. There was no one I trusted enough. No one who would believe the quiet girl, the troublemaker, the one with the growing file of absences and tardies over the beloved Coach Danvers, Jefferson High's golden boy, who'd returned to his alma mater to give back to the community. You can still do this, I told myself, fingers trembling as I pulled open the heavy glass door. Warren will listen. He has to. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as I made my way down the empty corridor. My footsteps echoed against the linoleum, each one sounding like an accusation. Liar, troublemaker. As I approached the administrative wing, voices drifted from Principal Warren's office. The door ajar, yellow light spilling into the darkened hallway. Concern isn't the word, Jim. Coach Danvers' voice. I've tried everything with Abigail. Extra attention, second chances, even offered her private coaching to help with her PE grade. Nothing gets through. I froze mid-step, my breath catching. Well, Jason, the attendance report doesn't lie. Principal Warren's tired voice. 18 absences this semester alone. Her mother stopped answering our calls. That's what worries me. A pause. I could almost see Coach Danvers running his hand through his perfectly styled hair, putting on his concerned face. Girls like Abby, they're vulnerable, acting out for attention. It starts with skipping class, then escalates. I've seen it before. I pressed myself against the wall, heart hammering in my chest. Liar, liar! Between us, Coach Danvers continued, his voice dropping, I think she might have a crush.
She's always hanging around after practice, watching. It's uncomfortable. The blood drained from my face. He was flipping it, making me the predator. The recorder in my backpack suddenly felt useless, my evidence meaningless against his perfect facade. In that moment, I understood exactly how thoroughly he had trapped me. I must have made a sound, a gasp, a whimper, because suddenly the voices stopped. Footsteps approached the door. "Hello? Is someone there?" Principal Warren called. I didn't think. I ran. My feet barely touched the floor as I sprinted down the hallway, past the trophy case filled with Coach Danvers' past glories, past bulletin boards papered with club announcements and college visit schedules, places I'd never belong. The door banged open behind me. Abby Winters, stop right there!" I slammed into the exit bar, bursting out into the cold morning air. I ran blindly, no destination in mind except away from the school, away from his voice, away from the crushing realization that no one would ever believe me. Ad is about to start in a minute and 30 seconds, so I'm going to get through this next paragraph and then we'll pause. Hopefully you're enjoying it so far. I think the volume's okay. Oh, Alan, thanks for the lurk there, buddy. Hey, welcome in on Instagram. And all right, we'll try to get through this. We have about a minute left. I'll pause until the end of the ad break on Twitch, and then I'll be back with you and we'll resume where we left off. Hopefully my stuffy voice isn't too bad for you this evening. Behind me, I heard Coach Danvers' voice, threaded with false concern. "Let her go, Jim." His words chased me down the street, each one a barb. Attention-seeking? Crush? The worst part? He was right about one thing. I didn't feel powerful or brave or in control. I felt exactly what he wanted me to feel, small, helpless, and utterly alone. My fingers dug into the straps of my backpack as I picked up my pace, breath puffing out in little ghostly curls against the crisp morning air. The street stretched ahead, wide, empty, endless. No one noticed the girl walking the razor-thin line between freedom and fright, her heart slamming against her ribs like it wanted out, like maybe it wanted this escape just as badly as I did. And I think the ad break has started, so we'll go ahead and pause here. I forgot to bring my drink with me. I have a Whiskey Wednesday and no whiskey in my hand. Party foul, right? Reading foul, stream foul. There we go. Let me go grab that real quick while we're on ad break, and I'll be right back. All right. There we go. Bad form. All right. Hopefully this is coming through for you all on Instagram fairly well. I was saying earlier that this is one of the first times of me trying to run a live reading stream through Instagram. So, there's the cue. The break actually started now. So Twitch lied to me. It started right now. But we have about a minute and 20-second ad break, and then we'll go back to the story. But anyways, hopefully you're enjoying your evening here. Let me put a little information into the Twitch and YouTube channels about the book that I'm currently reading the first chapter from, and about the author who wrote it. Indie author there, June Calva. And this is from Abigail's Curse. Very first chapter. Really, really good writing so far. I love this. We're really getting to kind of, and especially by the end of this chapter, get to kind of really look inside this character and understand her and where she's coming from. And eventually how kind of that story continues into kind of the synopsis that we read earlier about it, and how we got there. So, but hopefully you're enjoying your evening. You're sitting back, sipping on something nice. Doesn't have to be whiskey. Could be anything. Hot chocolate. Just enjoying the evening, enjoying the story. And hopefully my stuffy, nasally voice right now isn't terrible. That is dangerous stuff. All right, our ad break ends here in 4 seconds, and we'll get back to it. All right, and everybody should be back from the ad break now, and we'll continue where we stopped off, where our main character here took off running down the street after overhearing Coach Danvers, the evil Coach Danvers, and the principal talking in the office about her. She decided to run and get out of there. So we'll continue off there. Everything around me felt washed out, like the world had been left out in the sun too long and faded to dull grays and sleepy blues. Even the sky seemed too tired to do anything dramatic. The air smelled like damp pavement and that sharp metallic tang of gasoline, the ghosts of last night's rain still clinging to the asphalt in slick, dark patches. Streetlights flickered indecisively, caught between clinging to the safety of the dark or surrendering to the inevitable dawn. Sorry. I moved like a shadow slipping through the cracks, unnoticed, insignificant. My sneakers scuffed the pavement in a steady rhythm, soft, deliberate. The sound of escape. The sound of me peeling away from the version of myself I had been, step by step, heartbeat by heartbeat. Would anyone notice I was gone? Would they even care? Maybe they'd think I'd overslept, wrapped up in another night of staring at the ceiling trying to silence the endless monologue in my head. Maybe they'd whisper about me, their voices hushed and conspiratorial, spinning stories about where I'd gone and why. Or maybe, probably, my absence would slip through the cracks like everything else. Just another shadow dissolving in the daylight, forgotten before the day had even really begun. I passed the old gas station on the corner of Maple and Fifth, its neon sign sputtering like it was too tired to keep glowing. A soft electric hum buzzed against the silence, barely noticeable, but there, like the town itself was whispering secrets to those who bothered to listen. Inside, the man behind the counter, a grizzled figure with salt and pepper and stubble. Try that again. A grizzled figure with salt and pepper stubble, and eyes that had seen too much. Barely glanced up from his newspaper. He'd probably seen 100 girls like me before, restless, desperate, running, searching for something just out of reach. I pulled my jacket tighter, the morning chill biting through the fabric like it had teeth. My backpack shifted against me as I adjusted the strap, the worn spine of Carrie pressing against my back, a ghostly reassurance that I wasn't alone. I wasn't the first girl to feel caged, to crave escape. Ahead, the town stretched out before me, looking different somehow, unfamiliar in its emptiness. The road curved ahead like an open invitation, daring me to step forward to see what lay beyond the edges of the life I had known. I didn't know exactly where I was going yet, but that was the best part. For the first time in a long time, I had a choice, and I sure as hell wasn't turning back. I found solace in the derelict playground of my childhood. It looked like something out of a horror movie, which, considering my life right now, felt pretty damn appropriate. Rust had devoured the swings, flaking off in brittle layers like the shedding bark of an ancient tree. The merry-go-round tilted to one side like a drunk trying to stand up straight, covered in spray paint declarations of eternal love that probably lasted about as long as it took for the paint to dry. Now the whole place was falling apart like everything else in my world. Yet despite its decay, it stood as a monument to simpler times. A time when my biggest worry was scraping my knee on the gravel, when laughter rang out instead of silence, when I hadn't yet learned the weight of expectation, the sting of unwanted attention, or the quiet dread that curled in my chest like a living thing. I dragged my fingers along the rusted chain of my favorite swing, remembering how I used to pump my legs so hard that I thought I could touch the sky. The metal was cold enough to burn, but I didn't care. The pain was easier to deal with than the stuff churning inside my head. I settled into the swing, ignoring how it creaked under my weight. The whole playground smelt like wet leaves and memories. You know the smell, right? Like childhood wrapped in decay. Above me, bare branches reached towards the sky like they were begging to be saved from this place. Yeah, I knew the feeling. For a moment, I let myself drift. The gentle back and forth motion was hypnotic, almost peaceful. Almost. But peace isn't something girls like me get to keep for long. How many times had I come here searching for comfort? How many times has I traced the same path back home, shoulders slumped, dreams of running away dissolving before they could fully form? The rusted chains in my grip smelled of iron and memory, a scent both grounding and ghostly. Everything fades, even childhood, even innocence, even the bright-eyed girl who once ran barefoot through these streets, believing in forever. My breath misted in the cold air. Each exhalation a ghost fleeing the graveyard of my ribcage. Wisps of it curled and disappeared, vanishing as quickly as the things I had lost. I let my eyes slip shut, surrendering to the hush of the empty morning, the quiet press of a world that had long since moved on without me. For a moment, I could almost believe I was nothing more than a specter, a phantom girl haunting the edges of a world that had done her wrong, a girl who had been seen but never truly known, heard but never really listened to, a girl who existed in the spaces between, in the echoes of laughter that no longer belonged to her, in the shadows of a town that had already forgotten her name. The swing rocked beneath me, the wind curling around my body like spectral arms, as if the ghosts of my past were welcoming me home, or warning me to keep running. But reality is a relentless pursuer. It does not care for ghosts. It does not allow escape. The sound of approaching footsteps shattered the fragile quiet, an unwelcome intrusion upon the solitude I had carved out for myself. At first, they were soft, dull thuds against the pavement, slow and unhurried. But with every passing second, they grew louder, more distinct, until there was no mistaking the inevitability of their arrival. My breath caught in my throat, my fingers tightening around the rusted chains of the swing as if corroded metal could somehow anchor me in place, as if gripping something tangible could keep the creeping panic at bay. My eyes snapped open, and suddenly, the playground that had once been a sanctuary, a graveyard of childhood memories and misplaced dreams, had transformed into something far more sinister. A coil of unease tightened in my chest, a quick, breathless thing that pressed against my ribs and made my pulse skitter. I swayed slightly on the swing, my body caught between the instinctual urge to flee and the paralyzing weight of uncertainty. Should I run? Or should I stay and face whatever consequence loomed just beyond the trees? The footsteps grew closer, steady and unwavering, moving with a purpose that made my stomach twist uncomfortably. Whoever was approaching knew I was here. They had found me, and they weren't hesitating, weren't slowing down, weren't second-guessing themselves the way I was. Mr. Thornton, Jefferson High's very own bloodhound. The man had made tracking down runaways into an art form, and now here he was, coming to drag me back to my personal hell. His trench coat flapped in the wind like dark wings. Seriously, the man looked like Death's personal truant officer, all grim determination and practiced patience. I watched him approach, my heart doing this weird flutter-skip thing in my chest. Not from fear. Okay, maybe a little from fear, but mostly from the pure unfairness of it all. I swallowed hard, my fingers flexing against the swing's cold, rusted chains. My heartbeat a frantic drum pounding against my ribs. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to move, to run, to disappear into the empty streets before he could reach me. before he could turn me back into the thing I had spent so long trying to break free from. But I couldn't move. His trench coat billowed slightly as he walked, the fabric snapping in the wind like wings of some great ominous bird circling its prey. His gait was deliberate, controlled, the pace of a man who already knew the outcome, of someone who had chased down too many kids just like me to be fooled into thinking this would end any differently. "Abigail Winters," he called, my full name curling through the morning air like a noose tightening around my throat, constricting, suffocating. "Running won't do you any good." I didn't run. What was the point? You can't outrun the system. Trust me, I've tried. The swing lurched to an abrupt stop beneath me, the rusted chains clinking together in metallic protest. The stillness of the air felt heavier now, thick with expectation, with inevitability, as though the world itself had paused to watch what would happen next. Our eyes met for a fleeting moment. I saw no cruelty in his gaze, no malice, no self-righteous authority, only exhaustion. Mr. Thornton had seen too many kids like me, too many who had learned far too young that the world was not a kind place. The kindness itself was a fleeting illusion, a mirage shimmering just out of reach. He'd watched too many slip through the cracks, not because they wanted to, but because no one had ever built a bridge strong enough to hold them. "You can't keep doing this, Abby," he said, his voice quieter now, not the sharp edge of a scolding, not the steel of a threat, but a plea. "You have to face your problems, not run from them." The irony of it was almost laughable. Face my problems? I wanted to tell him that my problems sat behind a desk with a whistle around his neck, and that they lurked in the dimly lit locker rooms, moving with the confidence of a man who knew beyond any doubt that no one would ever believe a teenage girl over him. I wanted to tell him that my problems were a smile that was too wide, that they spoke in compliments tainted with something rancid and sour, that they knew exactly how far they could push before crossing a line that no one else seemed willing to acknowledge. I wanted to tell him that my problems weren't just at school, but fear is a silencer more effective than any gag, and my voice, my truth, remained locked inside my throat, swallowed by the years of knowing that no one wanted to hear it. So I nodded, emotion small and meaningless, a gesture that felt more like surrender than agreement. Without another word, I let Mr. Thornton lead me towards his car, my feet moving of their own accord, my mind numb to the inevitability of it all. I didn't fight. I didn't protest. What was the point? The car door groaned in protest as I pulled it shut behind me, the sound swallowed whole by the suffocating quiet that settled between us. The engine rumbled to life, a low, droning hum that felt like the prelude to a funeral march, a requiem for whatever fragile hope I had harbored that today would be different. The drive back felt endless, yet far too short. Each streetlight we passed flickered in the dull gray haze of morning, casting long, jagged shadows across the cracked pavement. The houses blurred together into a monotonous smear of lifeless, hollow structures, their dark windows like vacant eyes watching my slow return to captivity. I kept my gaze on the window, counting the blocks, counting the seconds, counting the ways I could disappear. But escape wasn't an option anymore. With every turn, every stoplight, Jefferson High loomed closer, waiting, watching. A mausoleum built of brick and despair, where the weight of expectation pressed down like the lid of a coffin, and I was just another ghost trapped inside. My breath hitched as the school finally came into view, the front steps where students gathered in idle conversation, unaware of the way my world had begun to crumble. The double doors yawning open like the gaping jaws of a beast ready to swallow me whole. And the gymnasium, that cursed, hollow place where my screams would never be heard, where silence wasn't just expected, it was demanded. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and got ready to become invisible again. The counselor's office at Jefferson High was a mausoleum of false hope and forced confessions, a sterile, suffocating room where the broken were dissected under fluorescent lights, their pieces labeled and categorized until they fit into neat little boxes. Boxes that could be filed away and forgotten. A place where troubled kids were reshaped into something more manageable, more compliant, where the expectation wasn't healing, just silence. Mr. Thornton had dumped me here like a package he couldn't wait to get rid of. Mission accomplished, right? Except my mission was just starting. Survive another day without breaking. All right, I am going to be right back. I'm going to go take care of my dripping nose. Hopefully you're enjoying the story so far. I'll be right back in just a minute. Bear with me here. I'll be right back. Be right back. Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, man. Allergies suck almost as much as Coach Danvers. Am I right? Okay. And if you are here and you've just tuned in, we're reading, if you can see down below, Abigail's Curse by June Calva. And then after I'm done reading the first chapter here, I'll post links to where you can pick it up if you like it and you want to continue the story. All right, so let's jump back into it, shall we? Here we go. Mr. Thornton had dumped me here like a package he couldn't wait to get rid of. Mission accomplished, right? Except my mission was just starting. Survive another day without breaking. Excuse me. I sat there, my spine rigid against the uncomfortable plastic chair. Legs crossed so tightly my knee dug into my thigh. The uniform they forced us to wear hung to me like a second skin, stiff and unyielding. I pulled my black hair forward, letting it fall like a curtain between us. My own personal shield, complete with heavy black eyeliner armor. Yeah, I knew what they said about girls like me. The ones who wore too much black, who didn't quite fit into their perfect little boxes. But they didn't get it. Sometimes armor isn't about keeping others out. It's about keeping yourself in. Mrs. Collins sat across from me, her hands folded neatly on the desk, her eyes laced with that careful, practiced concern adults wore when they wanted you to believe that they gave a damn. The kind that never quite reached deep enough, never quite cracked the surface of what really mattered. She waited, her pen poised above a blank notepad, ready to catch whatever scraps of truth she thought I was willing to hand over. As if a few scribbled notes could fix anything. "Abby," she said. Her voice the soft kind of firm, the kind used for frightened animals and kids too stubborn to be broken. "You need to tell me what's going on." The words were a plea, an invitation. But my words were prisoners, shackled deep inside my chest, suffocated under the weight of what I knew, of what I couldn't say. Because how could I tell her? How could I make her understand that my silence wasn't stubbornness, wasn't defiance? It was survival. My fingers curled into my lap, nails pressing half-moon crescents into my palms. The memories coiled inside me like a living thing, a whispering, twisting shadow I couldn't escape. The gym. I could still smell it. that mix of sweat and rubber, of old floor polish and teenage desperation, the air thick with the echoes of laughter that didn't belong to me, laughter that turned sharp and cruel when no one was looking. I could still feel the weight of hands where they didn't belong, the too warm breath against my skin, the whispers that curled like poison in my ear. I could still hear his voice. Coach Danvers. His words too smooth, too careful, always just on the right side of innocence. But his touch never lied. I pressed my nails deeper into my palm, focused on the sting, on the anchor of pain that reminded me I was here, now, not back there. You're scheduled to see a judge, Abby. Mrs. Collins continued, her voice gentle, measured, like she was guiding me through some dark and unfamiliar place. They'll decide what happens next. What happens next? Like my life was nothing more than a case file? Another problem to be sorted and shelved? A decision to be made by someone who never met me, who would look at the ink on the pages and not the girl suffocating beneath them. The thought was almost laughable. Almost. I kept my gaze fixed on the floor, on the cheap industrial carpet worn down by years of restless feet. My mind drifted, carried away on the tide of what-ifs and never-will-bes. I thought about running, about disappearing into the places no one thought to look. I thought about escaping in the only way that truly mattered, but escape wasn't an option. Not anymore. Mrs. Collins reached across the desk, her fingers just barely brushing mine, a hesitant offering, a bridge across the chasm that separated us. Whatever it is, Abby, you don't have to go through it alone. But I was alone. That was the one undeniable truth. The only thing I could count on. Because even if I did speak, even if I let the words slip past the walls I had built so carefully, if I tore open my chest and spilled every ugly, broken piece of me onto this cheap wooden desk, what then? Would she believe me? Would anyone? Coach Danvers already made sure of that. He had already planted the seeds of doubt in their minds. No, not even the evidence I had against him could save me now. They would just look at me the way they always did, like I was just another troubled girl, another statistic, another story no one wanted to hear because the truth was too messy, too complicated, too damn inconvenient. The silence between us stretched, thick and suffocating, filling the room like a slow creeping frog? Filling the room like a slow creeping fog. And still, I said nothing, because the truth was a weight too heavy to carry, and I was already drowning. It's the end of chapter 1. I hope you really enjoyed that. I really like this too. I like all the colorful descriptions of everything, and I think we get a really good glimpse inside the character's head here, and we definitely know what they're feeling. I mean, some of these things talked about I have never personally experienced, but I know the feelings of feeling small and insignificant, right? Really, really good. I really like this. So let me go back to the desk. We'll talk for a little bit more here, and I'll give you the links so you can pick up the book if you'd like to continue the story and figure out what happens with our main character, Abigail, here. So meet you back on the desk in just a second. See you there. Yeah. Okay. I almost tripped over myself getting over here. Yikes. All right.
Okay, yeah, like I said, there we go. Thanks everybody who joined in there on Instagram. Kind of just a thing I'm trying out. I'm trying to see if running Twitch and YouTube and Instagram all at the same time is a thing that I can continue to do. It's interesting to keep track of. Spaghetti bread. Hey, how's it going? What are we reading? This was very well written for the little I heard. Congratulations. Yes, super well written. I don't know when you joined in, but sounds like maybe there at the very end. Welcome to the channel. Here every Wednesday, 6 p.m. PST, I read a chapter from an author for free on the stream, and we pair it with a whiskey because I'm a sucker for alliteration and I like Whiskey Wednesday, right? I also do a stream usually on Mondays called Macabre Mondays, where we read short horror thriller stories, and that's really fun. Macabre Monday, you get my theme here. And eventually we'll be starting something called Throwback Thursdays, where I'm going to be reading from a public domain piece. And I'd like to set that up in my actual, no kidding, recording booth that I use. The one that I was just in is the one that I used to use, but I upgraded, and it's in my garage. But I'd like to actually record the book and kind of show you all that process as it goes. And then we'll put it up on what's called LibriVox, which is for those that are seeing impaired, so that they can read the book through audiobook form. And I think it's a really cool thing. And if I'm going to volunteer some time, I'm going to do that and kind of give back even more. So, because that's kind of the point of running this channel. I want to kind of give back, and I love my indie authors, and I want to always do this. So, as long as there's authors out there willing to take that brave step and submit their first chapters, I will read them. So, again, hopefully you all enjoyed this. Let me put the link. Let me grab that link to the book. So if you liked it and you'd like to pick yourself up a copy, you can do so. It's on Amazon, as most authors have their stuff up on Amazon. But if you're on Instagram, there's the link to the website on Twitch and on YouTube. There you go. That's the link to June's website where you can pick up anything they've written, including this one. So, like I said, hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll be back here again next Monday for Macabre Monday, where we read some spooky or thriller stories. So that's fun. I really enjoy it. And if you like those kind of stories too, I encourage you to check it out on Mondays at 6 p.m. PST time. If you're on Twitch, we're going to go spread the love and raid someone. If you're on Instagram, I will see you all later. I'm going to cut it here. Thank you very much for joining me. And if you're on YouTube, same thing there as well. I will check in with you all later, either on Monday or Wednesday, whenever I'll see you next. So take care. I'll see you then. And all my Twitch folks, let's spread the love, shall we? Let's pass the love on to someone.